Hi stylist, so for this video I'll be talking about my thoughts and opinions on the Ride Adventure suit from a fashion design bachelor's perspective. So without further ado, let's begin. Hi stylist, so let's begin. I love this suit. Just so you know, this is my sister's account, so thank you sis, I really appreciate it and I'm happy that she got the suit. So first, talking about the color palette, I love it. I think the orange, cream and undertones of like darker colors work very well for it. So specifically, let's talk about the hair. I'm 50-50 because I love the hair shape. It reminds me of wolf hairstyle or wolf haircut, and I've always been obsessed with it. But I'm not sure how I feel about the hair color because it's very light, and depending on your Nikki, it might be hard to style Nikki with this hairstyle. Depending on the player and if they think it's easy to style, that's also something to take into consideration. At the back, it is hard to see the layers or the different shapes that's been cut out, which is a miss because it's beautiful but you won't really be able to see it as much. So onto the top, I'm in love with the colors, the overall shape and all the details onto it. So for example, I love the stud and I think they executed it really well. And the beige, the cream and the orange, the darker orange or red burgundy works really well with the overall color palette. The sheerness on the sleeves is a cool touch to it. I didn't think that it had that until I saw it up close, and I think that's really cool because like you can see Nikki's shoulders in the sleeves. The overall aesthetic with the stars and the, I would say, rhinestone fringes, tassels looks cool. I love how it sparkles. Yes, it sparkles. I love the lace up at the front. I'm a sucker for that. It adds more detail onto it. My only problem that the overall top isn't separated. I know that it would be harder because you're thinking about it from like 9 or 10 pieces, probably 9 pieces that you have to get from the pavilion. But now that it's separated, it feels like it's more. But I think it makes it harder considering I want to mix and match all of these pieces, especially that cream beige laced up corset top. I think it's so beautiful, like with the studs, but it's kind of a missed opportunity to style other pieces with it. You know what I mean? But I do think the overall shape of the corset top does really well with capturing Nikki's shape. So on the sleeves and also the corset top bottom half, there is like thick big thread, which I'm in love with. I think it's like embroidery as a decorative technique, so you can see it and it's very explicit and I love it. It fits the rodeo western countryside aesthetic that it's trying to hit, and it works. On the orange fabric, I do believe there is like the subtle design which seems to be shiny, but I love it. I think it's very cool with trying to be subtle, not trying to be as defining as the thread. So specifically when it comes to the front section, I noticed that there is the zigzag outline on both the orange and burgundy undergarment, which is nice, but I do question why. It doesn't really feel like it's needed. It is nice to see, but why? Yeah, it is subtle, specifically the burgundy one, but the orange one, it is noticeable when you zoom in, not out. And on the sleeves, there is the cutout design, which is interesting yet confusing in my opinion, as it feels this specific section has been cut out and is reflecting the sheer material underneath, which is cool, unique, very interesting and creative at the same time. But I do question why specifically this shape. It just doesn't feel coherent with everything. I love the stars, but we do see the stars on the trousers too, so that's why you could say it's coherent. But for the zigzag on the undergarments and the cutout shape on the sleeves, it just doesn't hit the same. But the overall top does a fantastic job at balancing the simple yet stunning pieces, from the color palette to the shapes incorporated. The technique on top really do elevate the silhouette to fit the rodeo feel. The neckline does a great job showcasing Nikki's collarbone section in my opinion too. I love the different sizes of studs that are used because it makes it more exciting. I feel like they took more thought into it when they're designing it, so I appreciate that, especially on the neckline and also the sleeve. Also, another thing that I really do appreciate is the different necklines that they've used for this overall top, between a mix of square but also from layering the undergarments of the orange and burgundy, it creates a sense of a sweetheart neckline, which I do appreciate. but at the same time, the cream and beige overall shape creates a square neckline. Another thing that I really do appreciate on the corset top is the running stitch, especially going in and out on the cream/beige areas, and how they chose for the thread to be a darker color so you can notice it when you zoom in. Also, after researching, I had to check. I really do appreciate that they use the whip stitch, which is like diagonal, and it's on the beige areas on both the corset top and the trousers, which I do appreciate because it feels like it's not all just going straight, it's not all the same stitches. On the orange material, both at the sleeves and corset sections, there is a subtle design. I don't think the outline had a color since the surface is shiny. This could be done by glitter glue, spraying adhesive to cover the layer with glitter. That's one way of doing it, but I think it can be messy as the design is quite complex, so it would be harder to precisely create the shapes onto the fabric. While considering if there is any mistake, the glue will be visible and seep into the fabric, causing discoloration. Yeah, I believe the best way for it to be achieved by is using vinyl glitter heat transfer. So first cutting out the intricate design, for example by using a cry cup, then bonding the vinyl onto the orange fabric through heat transfer. For example, I would have used ironing. Moving on to the trousers, I love the color. I love everything about it. The tassels, especially that there isn't too much orange on this one. I think there was so much on the top and they don't want it to be like all over the place. So the top had so much and the trousers have just enough to make it coherent. After realizing that both of the belts are different, so there is the silver one and there is the darker brown one. I think they both work quite well since the darker brown one is mainly on the orange striped fabric and the two colors complement each other. At the back, I can see the use of running stitch, and it's the line of small even stitches running back and forth through the cream fabric without overlapping, highlighting the orange triangle shape, and I really do like that. On the silver belt, when you zoom in, you can see studs, and I appreciate how the belt loops holding the silver belt in place on the cream fabric, making the arrangements more believable that you could see this in real life. The dark brown belt having eyelets is great, and choosing for both the buckle and eyelets to be silver is even better. Because of the warm color palette, I really think this whole suit is elevated by the sunset. It just works so well. When rotating the trousers, I've noticed that it does look as though the material is shiny or just the surface. It might be like metallic or whatever. It looks as though it has gold stardust glittered on it. The silver belt for me surprisingly worked, since I initially thought that because the colors are quite light that it doesn't match the dark brown and orange color palette, but I think it works quite well here since it's not trying to be too much, and how other pieces in the suit incorporate the silver color, it makes the choice understandable. After seeing the silhouette of the trousers, the shape is of low-rise flared jeans where they sit lower on the hips, fanning out and widening in the leg, capturing a bolder and edgier look. Also noticing that the design is asymmetrical. Just as the whip stitch was used for the top, the whip stitch has been used here on both the front and the back of the trousers. For the tassels, specifically on the sides, the tassels feel as though they're creating a U shape, and in my opinion it also makes me question, wouldn't that be where a pocket is? So it did make me laugh, but at the same time, when looking closer at the tassels and the base fabric, which is the trousers, it looks as though either a chain, split or stem embroidery stitch has been used to connect the tassels to the trousers base fabric. And because the thread is using the same cream color, that when you zoom out you don't notice it, but when you zoom in it's more apparent, and I think that's interesting. And I like how continuing from the side to the other side, the tassels are still creating a sense of a U shape. And my favorite part about the tassels is how it feels as though there is movement, like each single tassel has its own movement. Like honestly, that is a lot to have to think about, create, execute, especially in a game, but I really do appreciate that. Gives it so much more detail. Like look at that movement, look at that bounce. So yeah, I will say I am not really into tassels as much. I'm just not into them. But Infinity Nikki really did change me. I have to appreciate them because it does give more movement, it gives more flair. Also, something that I didn't notice until now is on the silver belt, it does look like it's textured. It's very faint because the colors are just faint. But when you zoom in, it really does look as though it has a crocodile or snake texture. And I always get that from cowboy, rodeo, western fashion. Especially when it's dark, you can notice it more. When it's the sunset or morning, so the light in the game, you can't really see it. But at the night, it really does come through when light is reflecting onto that surface. I think that's very cool, but I must praise that it really does hit that spot for rodeo western fashion, because once I saw that texture, I instantly understood, oh, it's cowboys or cowgirls, you know? And I think that's an excellent thing to do for even the textures to hit the fashion styles that you're trying to go for. So thank you. Moving on to the beads, I'm obsessed with the amazing design, the beautiful color they chose for it, and how it shines. It really does sparkle when you rotate or move Nikki. So there are numerous beads beaded onto the fabric by probably stringing the thread with beads and just like going in and out of the beads through the beads hole. And I think that would have been very long. But at the same time, they could have beaded the thread with all the beads and then go in and out of the fabric from there. Honestly, for me, I think they done it individually by positioning the beads and then gently pushing the threaded needle through the beads hole and back through the fabric, going in and out, continuing that whole cycle until they've created this whole look. So that's the one I will say they probably done for it if you're trying to get that look in real life. But wow. It's really cool. It's very beautiful. And I have to appreciate the different shades, because some of it is like light gold, some of it is light yellow, and some of it is dark yellow, or even like just darker shade. I'm obsessed, and I think it really does fit the rodeo western fashion style that they're trying to go for. So amazing job. I'm obsessed with it, and it just really does elevate the whole suit or even just the pants. It makes it feel like there is something unique about this certain piece. I think the color of the beads work really well because it's not too bright, but it really does stand out compared to the cream color. So when you look at it, you will notice it. Even if you zoom out or zoom in, you will notice it. So I must praise the color that they chose for it. For the trousers orange fabric, I noticed that it is striped, and that's very different from the top orange fabric. While considering that the top orange fabric was sheer, for the sleeves to be able to see Nikki's shoulders, it's clear that these two orange fabrics are different, considering the light and delicate fabric for the sleeves actually shouldn't be holding its shape like that. It would have been using boning or other substitute to hold its shape. But for the orange fabric, for the pants, it would need to be thicker, especially for the pants section. Personally, I find the silver shiny fabric somewhat off. I am 50-50, also considering other sections did have silver in them, but because it's a big section at the bottom, I feel it's quite confusing. I'm not saying that I don't like it, but from a fashion perspective, I feel that it doesn't make much sense. I do appreciate the thought and care gone into the bottom of the trousers, since this could have just been a simple cream color, but they chose to go way beyond for us. Both the layered technique and intricate design on the trousers add complexity to the suit, while considering it's only a 4-star. The shiny fabric looks as though it's been appliqued on top, while you could also debate it could be creating the illusion that the cream fabric has been cut in certain areas and how the silver fabric was under this fabric the whole time. So as we see, the tassels are layered on top of the shiny fabric. For me, it creates a striking and dazzling effect. I do think the tassels fade too much into the silver shiny fabric color, especially when you zoom out, because it's quite hard to separate the two, but it might have been intentional, as this creates another illusion where it looks like the tassels are shimmering. And wow, the bounce. It really does make it come to life when considering you're going to be running with Nikki, you're going to be doing activities with Nikki. So if it's going to be brushing in the wind, you want to see those tassels brushing in the wind. Onto the boot. Honestly, I don't have much to say about them, but I do have a main thing I want to talk about. Can we talk about the texture? I honestly saw it and I thought crocodile or snakeskin because they are shimmering. I'm not sure about the color. It is a versatile color. I like that it's gray. You can style it with other pieces, but at the same time, I do feel like, does it really sit well with the suit itself? I don't think so. It's too dark comparing to all the other pieces that are way more warmer tones. The grey just doesn't fit. But I will say, I love the texture. I love the rhinestones on them. And I love that specific design on the shoes. That the light is reflecting very nice on it. Thank you. The black, purple, the grey, even though it doesn't really sit well with the overall suit in my opinion, I think it does sit well as a whole together. After looking at photos of actual boots, cowboy boots, western boots, I see a lot of those details onto these boots. So I can see the snip toes, the scallop dip, and I do feel like these boots feel as though they're a mix between ankle western boots and shorty boots. And I am quite happy that they took a lot of those elements and put it onto here, because then you can see the correlation. You can then take it and say, I see a lot of those things, so I can understand that that's why it's like that. Moving on to the hat, I'm in love with it. I love the rhinestones. I do believe it's rhinestones. I love that when you move, it moves too. And I love just the subtle colors on top, but underneath there's like the striking bold red. There is the white, but there is also the cream. It feels like on top it's being subtle, underneath it's being very, very bold. And I think that's a good mix, because you don't want it to be too boring, but you don't want it to be too loud, too chaotic. So yeah, I really do like it. I love how the jewels just sparkle on their own. You don't actually have to wait for the light to be hitting it. And I love that they incorporate the stitches onto the strip. And it already has like its own medal. I think they've done a great job for this one specifically. I'm in love and I'm very impressed with it, especially the texture of the hat. Wow, it looks so real. So I'm obsessed. I'm happy with it. Couldn't ask for anything better. I love that the stitches on the strip, the orangey strip on top, is lighter because you can notice it when you zoom in, but when you zoom out you can't. And specifically when you turn it to light in the game, when there's light, so it's day, it still is good. I still really appreciate it, and I do like, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a star, but if it is, I appreciate that too. I like it. I think it works better at day compared to night, because I think at night it's more striking, it's more eye-catching, but at day it feels more subtle because the colors are subtle, it's warmer. Also, considering the elements from the hat, I do appreciate that they incorporated and referenced a lot of what you would expect to see in real life. So example is the crown, the crease, especially the brim, and the front dip. Especially when you see it, you will notice it. So the hat band, which is higher than lower, but I'm not complaining anyway. For me, this hat does feel like it's a mix between a pinched front hat, where the V-shaped crown with 2 pinches in the front, but also a cattleman cowboy hat. So it has a dented crown and curled brim. And I think that's what I'm getting from it. Personally, I feel as though the earrings are lacking. I'm quite sad about it because pairing the tassel to the trousers, the individual strands are animated, so they are individually able to pick up and have movement. But on the earrings, it's not. The colors, they work because they work with the overall suit. There's nothing special about them in my opinion, but they are sadly not one for me, just because there's nothing interesting about them. I think the shape is okay. It would have been better if it was a star or stars related, because we saw stars on the top, but I don't think that this shape is as interesting. If the tassels were just more, as you can see, they aren't moving. So if the tassels had more consideration put into them, I think it could have been elevated. But because the tassels isn't, there's nothing unique about these. Comparing when you think about the top the trousers. There's something unique about them, especially the trousers with the beads, the top with the sheerness of the orange, but also the sweetheart neckline and the scoop neckline. It's just so much is going on there that is interesting to look at. But for the earrings, I think it just doesn't work as well. For the necklace, I'm okay. I think it's pretty up close, but when you zoom out, it's not as interesting because the shapes aren't big enough to notice when you are further away. I do love those teeth, but python or any wildlife teeth, that would be cool. It's just a miss because when you're up close, you can notice the shape, but when you're further away, it's harder to notice them. I think the red is a good color to go with to make the overall necklace stand out, but I think there is just not enough red for the whole thing to stand out. It's just lacking. So I'm okay with this necklace, but at the same time, I do think there could have been improvements. For the choker, in my opinion, I'm okay with it. I think it does its job very well. It's beautiful. It's simplistic and mixes with somewhat interesting because of the diamond design in the center. The back, I like that it's not just one shape. It does have the square design at the back, so I like that too. I'm not sure what that specific design is, which is dangling at the bottom, but it makes it more interesting, so I'm in love with it too. I think I just appreciate how it's not being too much but not being too little. It has things that make it more interesting compared to the earrings, where the earrings had something. It could have been elevating itself, especially the tassels, but the tassels wasn't executed well enough for it to elevate or for it to make it more interesting. It's just boring because they are all static. Even when you put them on, there should be movement as we saw in the trousers, but there isn't. So I think that was a missed opportunity, but for this one, it worked. It really does work. So that's my opinion for it. I do wish it could have got a better treatment, but it didn't. So that's why I do appreciate collar way more than the earrings. For the gloves, I'm in love with them because it's simple, but it also is interesting. So it has a belt underneath within the square cutout, and I think that's so cute. I love that. I love the studs. I love the shiny silver material, and also I'm not sure what that design is trying to be, but let's just say the dark orange design. The dark orange design, I can see it from up close but also far away, and I really appreciate that. It is able to stand out without being too much. It really works with the cream / silver / orange color palette that's been given to it. I love that the gloves have a crinkled effect. They didn't need to, but they did, so I think that really works for it, because considering it's supposed to be Western cowboy, Western fashion, I think crinkling it works better than it looking clean. It just wouldn't make sense. So I love that they executed that idea very well. And the silvery part, even though it doesn't feel as though it worked, I think because it's not a big portion of it, that it works better. It does work. It's not trying to be too much that it will throw the overall piece off. The belt inside the cutout, my favorite part. The cream fabric color I like, and I think it really does work. I think the gloves work really well. So those are my overall individual pieces review, and I think some of them work, some of them don't, but at the end of the day, I am happy that as a whole they all work together, because looking at it from a collective side with all the pieces, I think they are beautiful, they work so well. And it really does fit the aesthetic of Western fashion, cowboy, rodeo. And I think they've done a great job with execution, fabric choices, surface choices, and of course the color palette. I do truly love the color palette. I think compared to the pink version, where it is the evolution, I think this one is more versatile. The orange just hits all skin tones so well. I'm not sure about the hair because the hair is very light. I love the wolf cut hairstyle, but I don't think I'm into the color as much. And because the evolution is blonde / pink, it doesn't fit every skin tone, in my opinion, as well. So I think that's a part where they're lacking. But as a whole, I think it works so much better than the Evolution, because the Evolution, even though it has navy, individual pieces are still lacking and it doesn't feel as though they can work as much. And I hope Infinity Nikki continue with the great work, with the great designs. I just see there are some improvements that could have been made. But nonetheless, Nikki is beautiful. All the designs are there. All the details are there. If I have to say my favorite pieces, it will first be the top. Even though it's not as versatile, I still love that shape. It's just so beautiful. Then it would be the trousers, because the trousers got the beads on them. On the silver belt, it's got the texture. Beautiful. So it's just so detailed. Then it would be the hair. At this point, I do love the hairstyle. I don't like the hair for how it's versatile with the other skin tones. I don't think it is. But I think as a haircut, as a hairstyle, I love it because it's one of my favorite hairstyles. Then it would be the gloves, because the gloves are beautiful. I love the belt inside of it. It just makes me laugh. Then it would be the hair. Then it would be the hat, because the hat is just so good, so much detail, so much effort into it, and it paid off. Then it would be the boots, because the boots, even though it's not as easy to style with, I love the texture on them, the crocodile or snake texture on them, that I am marveled to this day about it. Wow. And then it would be the choker, because the choker, at least I can notice that accessory. I'm sorry, but at least I can notice that accessory. Then it would be the necklace, even though it's not as easy to style, just like the others. And even though I wish the teeth were bigger because I could notice it from farther away, I, to this day, do not like those earrings, because it was a missed opportunity to give them individual strands so that they could be animated themselves. So when you put them on, they have movement. But anyways, I really like the whole suit as a whole, and I'm happy that my sister got it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments if you got this suit, if you agree with me or if you don't agree, and let's just talk about our opinions on it. Thank you for watching, and bye.